Hello, this is Jennifer at Healing Relations TV. What an awesome feeling and a great responsibility to break free of the bondage of anger, hurt and disappointment. The next step is learning to handle the newfound freedom. Now that we are free, stand firm. Let us not allow ourselves to be burdened again by a yoke of slavery. According to an American report, there are many stories about criminals who have committed crimes immediately after their release, only to admit they were comfortable outside the prison walls and wanted to go back to prison where they felt secure. Now that sounds like a crazy thought. Are you looking for a radio show with talk, media and music and the occasional cake recipe? Then listening to your hosts, Jennifer Valentine Miller, on BRZ-FM 109.2, the radio show with a message.
What's amazing is a great word that just came into my spirit now. It's a familiar word. It says, arise and shine. Isaiah 60 talks about arise and shine, for your light has come and the glory of the Lord. When we look at that and we begin to break it down, we might recognize that the word light, arise and shine to the light. What is the word light? I have this sense where Genesis 1 says this simple thing. God said, let there be light. And he was not talking about sunlight or moonlight, as some may put it. But actually what he was talking about, God was saying to every gas, every known element that he had created, I am about to speak over you and I'm going to form you into something that becomes tangible. That's why it says God spoke into the chaos. Now, arising and shining always has this sense of destiny and purpose attached to it. And oftentimes the thing that we miss as Christians is, what is our purpose at a given time? Knowing that our purposes are transient. So today we are a child, so tomorrow we are a teenager, and we grow and grow into our destiny and purpose. But one of the most amazing things is this: when God speaks into our life, he illuminates not just now, but illuminates our tomorrow. So it gives us a sense where we can walk into that. So I want to encourage you today that the way may seem dark at the moment, but God is the God that speaks in the darkness. That's why it says darkness and gross darkness covered the people. And the truth is that we have to turn that scripture the other way around. So this is my encouragement. In the midst of your darkness, God is shining a light. Will you look for that light? Because he is speaking into that light and he's defining you for your now purpose. So I want to encourage you to arise and shine, for your light has come and the glory of the Lord is upon you. Now the glory of God, I'm going to finish with this. The glory of God is God's purpose for your life. We know that if a car holds the badge of Mercedes, it holds the glory of Mercedes, but only unless it does exactly what the manual says it should do. So if your reclining seats are not working, if your heated seats are not working, if your air conditioning is not working, if the windows aren't working, then it does not show the true glory that is written down. God has written on his hands your destiny and purpose. The moment we become all of those things, and as we move through life, we become those things, we now begin to fulfill the glory of God in the earth. So I want to encourage you, arise, shine, for your light has come. This is Noel Robinson on Conversations with H.
White Hammond, and it is indeed a privilege to be with you all, and in particular to be able to share in this conversation. I am the mother of two daughters. You'll hear from my oldest daughter, Mariama. Our youngest daughter, Adia, lives in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where she is a teacher. And there are, like you've already heard, and I'm at this stage too. I love being at this age. I love being 66 and still alive, because I'm very much mindful of this whole notion of legacy and blazing a trail and leaving a mark. And there are a couple of things that I've been reflecting on, especially in this last year or so. Kierkegaard is a Russian philosopher who's credited with making this statement that life is lived going forward and understood looking back. And there have, like so many others, life has not always been a crystal stair. It's been great. God has been extremely faithful. And as you suggest, there are those high moments and there are those low moments. There are victory, defeat, etc. And at the time, they created a significant amount of drama. And to live this long is to recognize that that moment that seemed all-encompassing, at 66, it really is just a dot on a line, for which, in general, by God's grace, it has been an upward trajectory. And so my wisdom that I've tried to impart to my girls is to be faithful, to treat people well, and to understand that even in those most difficult moments, that God still has a plan. And I don't know how it all works. I don't understand. I know 1 + 1 = 2, but God has another kind of math going on. But it will all work together for good, somehow, by God's grace.
Hi, so this is me again for Valentine Miller on PRZ FM, hoping you are well this morning as you've, gone through the week, another testing week. This is the radio production with a Christian theme that has music that is good for the soul and inspirational media. I'm entitling the show All About Daughters. Congratulations, it's a girl. So why celebrate a daughter? There isn't a reason to celebrate daughters. However, from loving and supporting their parents to spreading joy in their life as they grow older is an asset and the most precious of gifts. For parents watching their daughters grow up as independent individuals and relating to their parents with great pride. How about daughter-in-laws who are known as angels sent from heaven to fill the hearts of families members with pure joy? Even I find it fitting to look into my little girl's book and share some glorious gems. Now it is written here that my daughter was born in autumn and a late fall into my life, lying purple and dented like a little bruised plum, as though she'd been lightly trodden in the grass and forgotten. The matron picked her up and she came suddenly alive, her bent legs kicking like crab wise, and the first living gesture I saw was a thin wringing of hands accompanied by a far-out Hebridean lament. This moment of meeting seemed to be a birth time for both of us, her first and my second life. Nothing I knew could ever be the same again, and I think I was reasonably shaken. I peered intently at her, looking for familiar signs, but she was as convulsed as an Aztec idol. Was this really my daughter, this purple concentration of grief, this blind and protesting dwarf? Then they handed me to her, stiff and howling, and I held her for the first time and kissed her, and she went still and quiet as though by instinctive guile, and I was instantly enslaved by the flattery of my powers. She was, of course, just an ordinary miracle, but also the particular late wonder of my life. So almost every night at first, I'd take her to bed like a book and lie close and study her. Her dark eyes would stare straight into mine, but off-centre, not seeing me. Here she was then, my daughter, here alive, the one I must possess and guard. A year before this space, it had been empty. Not even a hope of her was in it. But now she was here, brand new, with our name upon her, and no one who could call in the night to reclaim her. She was here for good, her life stretching before us, and so I knew I couldn't leave her alone. And that was also shared by Two Women by Laurie Lee. So if we were to think of a woman who prepared herself to rely upon God as her father for guidance and protection, then Deborah, the judge in the Bible, stands out. As a woman born at a time where being a woman didn't give her any advantages, living in captivity, she steps through the pages of history without fanfare, like the other judges of this book, and steps out into front of stage. Perhaps the most striking verse in Judges 4 verse 5, the Bible says that Deborah sends a man called Barak. She doesn't ask him to come, she doesn't plead, she simply sends for him with authority. Authority didn't come from herself, her skill, her reputation, her major job titles, but from God she served. When God calls us to do something, when He's lays something in our heart, it doesn't matter what people think. It doesn't matter if you have the perfect skill set or the words to say. Your authority comes from God by yourself. And like Deborah, the daughter, we may not be able to do what God has called you to do. But He does say, I can do all things. And I don't have to be enough because He is. Deborah, however, was the only woman who influenced the destiny of the Israelites. Another woman, another daughter, Tamar, took matters in her own hands and guaranteed Judah's lineage, which included David and Christ. Judah failed to fulfill obligation to his daughter-in-law Tamar after the death of the first two sons. Ruth, another daughter, was another woman who dramatically changed the history of Israel. She was a Moabite woman. She boldly asked Boaz to marry her and become the kinsman redeemer. Esther was a woman and a daughter left alone who was, like Deborah, delivered Israel from destruction by a foreign nation. Esther was the wife of King Xerxes, and Esther bravely approached the king, and in an elaborate plan she exposed chief officer Haman, saving the Jews, therefore, from destruction in Esther 7. It seems that some things are never enough, never good enough. So what gives us the authority to step out, to lead, to be an example like these women? Fear and doubt, of course, which wrestles against God's voice. It holds a person back and keeps them from stepping into their calling and choke out their faith. It's amazing how fast the devil pulls out past scars when we're trying to step out into our calling. He pulls out all the stops, dragging our insecurities and our past from where we thought we'd left them buried. This may not be a physical war, but spiritually and emotionally, we are waging a war that we feel like we just can't win. Your authority comes from God. The attacks from the enemy are coming from a retreating army that already has lost the war. Your victory has already been won. Trust your God, adjust your mindset, and step into the authority God has given you. Deborah was one of many women in the Bible who fulfilled God's plan through her integrity and faith. And Deborah and all the judges who came upon the scene were men, but each were reluctant or dubious as a hero. But there is one shining example in the book of Judges where powerless women were sacrificed, raped, dismembered, battered by their own families and nation. Deborah, as a daughter of God, stands out as a stark contrast. Like Tamar, Ruth, Esther, Deborah was a woman in the midst of a male-dominated society who influenced the history of Israel and hence the Christian church. She is an example to men and women of all generations, a woman who was accomplished all through because of her wisdom and, most importantly, her bravery.
Seen in over 25 countries. A performance spanning 33 years, 1,500 cast members each year. heaven's gates and hell's flames.
We sure had a good shopping trip today, didn't we, in Westfield? Yeah, it was so much fun. I really hope that Dad likes the new dress that you bought. Oh, he will, dear. You know your dad likes everything that you wear. Thanks, Mum. I just really wish that you guys would come church with me. It will make me so much happier. Oh, I know it will, dear. But you know how busy I am. And you know Sunday's the only day that I have to myself. And what about all that charity work that I do? I'll tell you what. Someday, when your church has a really special performance, you invite me, and I'll make sure that I come. Okay? But, Mum, you always say that, and then you never come. But I really mean it this time. I promise. That's a promise, Mum. You have to remember. You have my word. Come on. There's the car. Let's hurry. This must be heaven. Look at all the angels. These must be the gates to heaven. Heaven? It can't be. I'm not ready to go to heaven yet. Oh, but Mum is so beautiful. And look, the angel got the book of life. The book of life? What's the book of life? Don't you remember? I told you so many times. When Jesus comes into your heart, your name gets written into the book of life. But I'm a good person. Tell them I was a good mum. I dropped you off at Sunday school every week. And what about all the charity work that I did? Angel, there must be another way for me to get into that book. Mum, you're scaring me. Oh, I know, honey, but I just don't know what to do. I didn't understand that this Jesus of 2,000 years ago was relevant in my life today. Angel, please. Please, Angel, please. My name must be in that book. Please don't separate me from my daughter.
Get the mother. She's mine.
Angel, is my name in that book?
For God so loved this world that he gave his only begotten Son, Jesus, that whosoever believeth in him, in Jesus, should never perish. No man needs to perish, but all may have eternal life.
You can abuse it. It's your soul. And you can lose it. Heaven or hell. It's just as you choose it. Oh, but remember, it's God's love, His love. You're just throwing
You're listening to the Jennifer Valentine Miller Show, containing a selection of my chosen media items. If you would like to interact, please visit me at www.healingrelationstv.co.uk, where you'll find my social media platforms. Or send me an email at contact@healingrelationstv.co.uk.
For you are Alpha and Omega, beginning and the end, I'm talking major. We bow before your throne, that's what we made for. I'm down here at your feet to say I'm thankful. I'm thankful cause we worship you. Bow before your throne, we are holy, holy, holy. The oxymoron is the fact that down at your feet is the most high place. As I joke in defeat, I can run to your grave, shouldn't be alive, but the cross you took my place. To you I dedicate life, nobody could ever save mine the way you did it. Through Christ I would death, will you medicate time in a beautiful way, and through your pain I continue to give you glory. Hosanna in the highest, your favor to not ignore me. As you're requiring all me, audibly speak, then you saw me before me, bought me, then thought of me, interesting daddy bore me. My life I lost it, had me in the middle of a mosh pit. Reflections so toxic, but apart from you, nobody can cross it. I'm addicted, no narcotic, can't stop it, drop it, up off it. To whom we pray, Abba Father, 850s, Romans adopted. For in you the fullness of Christ lives in bodily form. I'm a fullness of form found in the King who is adored. With every power and authority I want to hear. Need your house, I will show me worship your majesty. For you are Alpha and Omega, beginning and the end, I'm talking major. We bow before your throne, that's what we made for. I'm down here at your feet to say I'm thankful. I'm thankful cause we worship you. Bow before your throne, we are holy, holy, holy is your name. It amuses me, it's futile to think that I could see anything more than delectable. Reject the views they refuse to me, glue to me, stick with a brick where I'm sandwiched, but how you left us. Worship you in your beauty, your GE to you compare us. Neglect us, never that you're faithful, very able for that I'm grateful. Variable is who we be, but your word is constant to me. Need to be at your feet till I'm stone cold. My feet don't like Jacob with a broken hip vessel, won't let go of your low people who fight us. Only access those who ignite us. So flash your light as we fight us. Persecution delight us, and right like Titus we fight us. Our salvation delights us. No Delilahs, we be like that. We don't care if they like us. People who fight us, only access those who ignite us. So flash your light as we fight us. Persecution delight us, and right like Titus we fight us. Our salvation delights us. No Delilahs, we be like us. We don't care if they like us. For you are Alpha and Omega, beginning and the end, I'm talking major. We bow before your throne, that's what we made for. I'm down here at your feet to say I'm thankful. I'm thankful cause we worship you. Bow before your throne, we are holy, holy, holy.
By your spirit I've been told to draw closer. Take up my bed and walk, no four-poster. Me and the Lord was at war, bro, now it's all over. I used to beef with these laws, now it's all kosher. Lord knows I'm in this place just to say that I'm thankful. Without your grace I'm a shambles. Lord, I ain't worthy to lace up your sandals, but I'm bowed down at your feet cause my daddy's G.O.D. I've been engrafted to the branches, yeah, I'm added to the tree now. So know that I ain't senile. If when I spit you see me smile, cause I don't hit lines, I got a freestyle. I was blind, I couldn't see how until he reached out, laid his life down like a beach towel. Did it for me, wow. Took the worst beat down so we can go back to the Father. For man and God to make up, you let the mask scar ya. You took extended lashes for my bad, yo. Now wherever your light leads, I shadow. On the cross you demonstrated what love costs. Laid a foundation that could never be brushed off. I won't hush when I go in the booth. Won't let my lipstick or gloss over the truth. So touched when I read of his endless love. No blush, cheeks red, covered in sinless blood. He carried us from night, covered us in his blood. New covenant in his blood, come and ascend.
For you are Alpha and Omega, beginning and the end, I'm talking major. We bow before your throne, that's what we made for. I'm down here at your feet to say I'm thankful. I'm thankful cause we worship you. Bow before your throne, we are
Living word. No one greater. Prince of peace. Mediator. High priest. My creator. Come on, children.
You are Alpha.
You're Omega. Living word.
No one greater.
Prince of peace.
Mediator.
High priest.
My creator.
Up next is a chapter from Words Pressed, a short biography.
Chapter 2. To be or not to be an actor. There's always a sense of anticipation and excitement when a friend says, "You will soon see me appearing on television." As what, I hasten to ask. Reality television appears to be the craze at the moment. We see television viewing fully occupied with a lot of people who just want to be famous for being themselves. I believe there is a skill and art to entertainment. I have undergone much stage and film projects, so I cannot say anything less. For example, I don't like horror, but I do like special effects. I love romantic films, though I do exclaim that sex can steal the scene. Having said this, can I rewind back and say that acting is an art and not witchcraft? So many Christians believe that if there is no message behind a script, then we should not relate to it. And I do agree up to a point. I remember the spring in my step when approaching a burning cross as Joan of Arc. I was also on a complete non-drug-induced high whilst appearing as the Maid Mary in an adaptation of The Crucible. And oh dear, I did stand tall when firing arrows as the Greek mythology character Medusa. All of this and many more wasn't me escaping reality, but it was me being part of a team and playing my part as an actress. My junctures in acting has generated many a thank you and bravo for bringing forth a certain real-life scenario to light. My only caution is to let go, especially of the character being personified. Budding actors should not assume that they can walk into acting later in life and believe that they can bring to the stage all of their life experience. Get involved from an early age. Therefore, the desire to act and perform will never leave you. Also, be prepared to be noticed when you least expect it, for that is what one works towards. And also, it is not about seeking the attention most people crave for. To reiterate what I said earlier, don't take it for granted that an older character will be cast to an older person. It was reported recently that the script for the new Miss Marple series was handed to a 30-year-old actress. Acting is not just makeup, camera, lights, and action. It is on most occasions about friends, Romans, countrymen. Lend me your ears. Julius Caesar, William Shakespeare.
Thank you for listening to the Jennifer Valentine Miller Show on PRZ FM 109.2. Until next time, wishing you a blessed week ahead.